Right, this is a follow-on video from the rattling of the gearbox and trying to pin it down what it is. This is the hydraulic bearing, sits in there. As you can see, this is how you bleed the hydraulics, and it sits more or less where this cover is, which is just a rubber cover which can be removed, so giving you access from outside the bell housing to actually bleed the system. The system is fed by this pipe here, which goes into here, and the final piece of the jigsaw is the Westfield made spacer. There's a lip on the inside here which locates there, so centrally it will centralise itself. The way they've held it on is by bonding. This is a piece of the old bonding. Notice the thickness. It's only sitting on the inside edge, on this edge here. You see that? It's not on the face here, because obviously when you press your clutch in, the force is going to be face to face, and probably thinking that they don't want any glue in there to give it an uneven cock, i.e. like that, and then it'd be pressing up against the clutch plate at an angle. So I think that's a good idea, but means only that the spacer is held onto the bearing by a very small amount of bonding. If you're going to put this back on, then that's what I recommend. Do not put the bonding on this face here, because of the possibilities of this being cocked over like that, only by a small amount, and also you'll be putting pressure on the bond itself, i.e. pressure. Should be okay, but you don't want that to happen. So the solution, I posted it on the WSCC website, a drawing, and the solution was to actually, well, just one thing, to centralise it all. There's a little lip here. It measures 1.850 thou. It's a little bit over this by about 4 thou, but it centralises it on the clutch. Yeah, there. So everything's meant to centralise. Anyway, the engineering solution, which is the drawing I did, was to actually, you can see the machine face here with the 3 fixings. The fixings were just ordinary cap head bolts. Yeah, and they're screwed in there. The solution was to, as per the drawing, so to boost the bearing forward by the thickness of the spacer, which would be between my fingers there, that dimension, about 19mm, whatever. I haven't measured it, but I've been told it's somewhere around there. So put the spacer on here, boost it off 19mm, and then put this back on there so it boosts off 19mm. Now let me tell you what we'll do, we'll put that on. Obviously you can't use that. So that's the rough position of where it would sit. Now the only thing there is to rebend the hydraulic pipe to suit the inlet. That is possible. The only thing with it is that this bleed pipe here now doesn't line up with the opening in the bell housing. Now that's easy to fix. You could either elongate it and get a new rubber grommet, or better still, just drill a hole there and put a blanking grommet in. Anything you wanted really, but it's not unsurmountable, it is fixable. So that would give me, I believe, the best engineering solution. And then this bearing would be in contact with the fingers on the pressure plate, where it's meant to be. So that's the engineering solution that I've come up with, but due to a kind of time constraint, I haven't got time to do that. I need to get some miles on the engine to run it in, because it's booked in at Northampton Motorsports for a rolling road session. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rebond this to the bearing. I would like to roughen up this face here, and that's easy done. I can put it on the sandblaster, tape it up and just blast that edge. Yep. And I could, I'm going to have a think about this, sandblast the edge inside here, but the problem with that is sealing it off so the dust doesn't go down into the bearing and so knacker up the bearing. I cannot allow anything to go in there from the sandblaster, so I think that is going to be a bit of a no-no. I'll just rough it up with something. I'll have to protect the bearing so that no rubbish goes in there, so that's a bit of a limiting factor on this one. But on this one here, to make the bond better, I can roughen up this surface here. But bearing in mind, you get it? Never mind. When the clutch is fully assembled, let me roughly assemble it. That goes back on there, and that on there. With the fingers here, constant pressure is applied to this bearing, just slightly. It's always in contact. Yeah. So really, that should keep this bearing spacer all together. So really, you know, we're not relying on the bond in any structural strength or whatever. Really, it's just there to hold it there while you put the engine on, so it doesn't fall off like that. So I'm going to bond it back on. There you go. Just a thought there. I have got a rattle. I don't know where the rattle's coming from. There is a spring in there. If you take the, I've had this off, but if you take this gator off, there's a big coil of spring round there, about 1-2 turns, whatever. If that breaks, I suppose you could get rattled with that, and what would happen with that is, it would allow the bearing to go backwards, and I wonder if you're just getting a little rattle with that bouncing up and down. That's just a thought. You could get a rattle from this if the fingers weren't pressing against it and this came loose, and you get that. It could be the clutch plate, it could be something else, it could be actually inside the gearbox, which I can't discount at this time. It could be the diameter of this in the actual bearing, in the needle roller bearing in the flywheel end. So I'm going to check the diameter of that, see if I can get something to compare that, and pop it in the engine, a similar sized thing. I very much doubt that I'll have something, but again, I'm going to check it. I'm also going to take off the new clutch, which was purchased from Eurospares, which is not a Ford OEM part, and I'm going to put the old 1.8 Z-Tech clutch plate and pressure plate. So with that eliminated, hopefully, put the original clutch together, put the engine in. We'll be starting the engine up tomorrow. I'll have to give time for the bonding to go out. I've got JB Weld, which I'm going to use. I'm going to leave it 12-24 hours before I start the engine, make sure it goes off, and I'll get back to you and we'll see what happens. Okay.